everybody. You know, this study module that covers the final multiple source essay is pretty complicated. This is a big project, so I thought I'd go ahead and put in a little tutorial here and guide you through this particular part of the course that is broken down into some components. So let's look at this together. First, we have the study materials. Now, yes, you do have a textbook, and you also have access to computers where you can research information, but study materials are also included right here along with some other tutorials that take you through the process. When we first open these study materials, there's the checklist for everything that's required for this project. The multiple source essay is a multifaceted project. We have the proposal, we have the outline, and we have the abstract, and then we have the essay that requires images and research and so forth. So this checklist is a good place to come back to as you go through the process. And this explains the process. You've already locked down a topic, but now you have to think about how do you want to organize that topic into an argument essay. And so here we have the different types of argument essays, and remember that since this is a position paper, for each one of these you would be stating your position after having researched the topic. And as we go down, there's a few little notes about some overview study guides for getting started in the project. As you start looking through images and building up a folder of images that relate to your topic, you would want to avoid logos and go instead for images that reflect what you are doing. Then at the bottom of this is the checklist that you can go ahead and print out. That's what I would do, is print it out so I make sure I have everything. Next, we have all about topics. And this talks about changing your mind on topics, the process of deciding topics that you've already locked down and so forth. Let's take a look at this folder right quick. This is the all about topics. Now in here I've included a couple of tutorials to set some boundaries with the content of your essays. Remember, everything you write is the property of the school, and we want to make sure that everything is appropriate. That doesn't mean that you can't get into issues, and that doesn't mean that you cannot fully express your topic. It's just, this is just something to make sure that we're refreshed about. And then finding a topic, narrowing a topic, all these things have to do with what you do once you have selected your topic. This section of the course is designed to help you with that. There's some examples of essays that have been written back there for you to see. So that's all this section is. It's just helping you, once you've picked that big topic, the next question is, gosh, now what do I do? And so that's what this particular part of that module is. Now the next part of this module is outlining your topic. You do not submit the outline to me for grading until the end of the project. And there is information in the textbook about outlining, but for this assignment I have outlined some specific requirements for the outline, so I thought it would be helpful to include an entire section that teaches you how to create that kind of an outline so that you're sure to be compliant. Let's look at this, organizing and outlining your topic. First, we have a folder that you can study that discusses the alphanumeric outline. Let's open that folder together. I know everything looks like it's in subfolders, but otherwise it's going to be so confusing if it was all just run down on the page. Let's look at that real quick. In here, I'm showing you examples of how to create every kind of outline that you might be using. Theory, problem solution, and so forth. I went ahead and took time and went out and showed you each one of these and how to create that outline. So I think that's very helpful for folks who like the alphanumeric outline. I know I do, but there's another outline that's possible. Let's take a look at that one too. I clicked the back button and that took us back to these, and Here's the Tillman Outline, and there's a tutorial on that, and that's information about that idea of organizing your information. And then if you wanted to use the Tillman method and still use that kind of outline, you can refer to that tutorial. And there are more tutorials down here if that's the way that you want to go with your topic. And that is what's contained in this part of the module that is engaged in organizing and outlining your topic. Another requirement for this essay is qualitative research, which is graphs, images, charts, and so forth. This section contains information about how to go about selecting appropriate qualitative analysis. And I have a really good tutorial here that takes you through the process. And I have some guidelines for you to use so that you'll make sure that you include appropriate images in your essay. And that's all that's contained in this particular aspect. But I wanted to be clear so that as you do your essay, you know exactly what's expected. Now I'm going to click the back button. That takes me back arrow on my computer. And now I'm going to look at what the abstract, and there are instructions for writing an abstract, step-by-step guide, and a tutorial. And that's all that's in here. Again, I wanted to break this content up so that it didn't all come as one long string of information that could be confusing. There's also information in the textbook about abstracts and so forth, so you can refer to that as well. I'm hitting the back arrow again. And this takes me to the argument, essay, position paper, and some tips and suggestions for writing an excellent position paper. Let's open that. And these are some good ideas for writing your essay. There's some thesis writing tips here that go into a little bit more detail. And there's some tutorials in there. This one is an important tutorial on the elements of an argument essay, bias, and so forth. Now, as you go through the course, you can see that this section for the multiple source essay is detailed. There's a lot of content that's required for this. And remember that as you go through the course, if you couldn't remember where it was that you saw a particular tutorial, you can always go to the left menu bar, click the video tutorial library, and there you will be able to see where all of those were located, and you'll be able to find them there as well. So they're cross-referenced in here. Also, and I think this is a fun part of the course, on the left menu bar at the very bottom is a tab that's called Examples. And if you click on that, you will find examples of essays that have been written before. And sometimes that's very helpful for students to see what someone before has written. And so you can see some different multiple source essays that were written. Now I've come back to the main page for the final multiple source essay, and we just went through the study materials. Next, I can look at the discussion boards for the multiple source essay. I can look at these notes for preparing the final multiple source essay. This is the grade rubric that tells me everything I'm going to be graded for and the points assessed. And at the bottom of this module, of course, is the place where we see the magic words, submit here. I'm going to create my entire essay. I'm going to save the whole thing as a PDF, and I'm going to submit the whole thing. And so that's what this particular module consists of. I know once you get into the study materials, it seems like, oh gosh, but remember, you can always click the left arrow button at the top of your browser screen and go back to where you were. I know sometimes I get lost in content myself, and so that's very helpful for me to know. So I'm just going to very, very quickly flip through this. This takes you to what the discussion boards and the instructions for those discussion boards. This is very short content. Then we have the preparing the final multiple source essay, and that's where you're going to have a little review of what's due. There's a little process right here where I go through step by step putting together a final project. So that's all contained in this little tab about preparing the essay. And then I want to know what I'm graded based on and so forth, so I click the grade rubric. That breaks down the rubric. This explains the grades that are given, and there is the chart and the graph for the rubric. But I wanted to explain to you what you're being graded on so nothing comes as a surprise. And then save the whole thing as a PDF and submit it there. That concludes this tutorial and tour of the final multiple source essay tab in the course assignments.